think he's obviously excited for the opportunity. We got our boy Caleb over there, who's talented. They got some good players over there. So Swift is over there. So they got a pretty good team. I told him, I said, for 2 times a year, Ben, we're gonna you up. He goes, I'm gonna you up. I said, okay, we'll see. I told him I know all the plays he likes to run. I know all his tendencies. But we're just going back and forth, messing around. But it's funny. He's like, if I want to be the best, I got to beat the best, right?
Damn.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. Connor Rogers, Matthew Berry, Lawrence Jackson, Jay Croucher. That sound you heard at the top was Amon-Ra St. Brown on the St. Brown podcast, talking about his former offensive coordinator, going to the Bears.
It's exciting. I'm happy to have Ben Johnson in the division, taking shots at Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, riling up the division.
He's ready to. He's very happy to make that joke as well.
Yeah. The pause and the smile. You do that quite a bit.
He had that holstered.
Right. It was scripted.
It's scripted. He had that. He had that ready to go. But listen, talk the talk. I like that. You put a circle on your back as opposed to, hey, we're going to try our best. He came out there, and I think the important thing here is that both Ben Johnson was available to be announced as the new Bears head coach, and Amon-Ra St. Brown was available to do his podcast with his brother, because both aren't doing anything right now because they both have lost to the Commanders. Hail the Commanders, hail victory. I'm just saying.
Green undershirt gets
Thank you very much. The green undershirt, 1,000%.
We wore it last week.
We wore it last week with the Brian Robinson, and we upset the Lions. I'm not messing with mojo. We're going to need all the help we can get against the Eagles. So, yeah, you're damn right, Jay Croucher.
Does the green undershirt make it to game day?
Yes, I think it will.
So.
I wash it. I do wash it.
Oh, you wash it?
We trust
I
that.
wouldn't wash that.
Yeah, I wouldn't wash.
It's okay to wash.
No, it's okay to wash it.
You have to be at work.
Eagle green.
I got a
Eagle
wife
green.
and kids.
Ew.
It's NBC Sports Green is what it is.
Oh, okay.
There's an NBC Sports T-shirt.
How's the confidence level? Eagles minus 285 now.
Yeah, what's the week been like?
6-point favorites.
You know what? I'm super nervous, if I'll be honest with you. Because
costs money.
Wait,
Not anymore.
1,000%.
Not anymore.
1,000%. That's right.
It's hard to get back here.
I was talking with a friend of mine. He goes, listen, if at the beginning of the year they told you, hey, you're going to play for the NFC Championship, you'd have signed up that in a heartbeat. And I go, of course. We won 4 games last year. Our preseason win total was 6.5. The idea that we're playing 1 game away from a Super Bowl berth is insane to me, with a rookie quarterback, a first-year head coach, a first-year offensive coordinator, first-year general manager, all of that. So many new pieces on the team. But now that we're here, now we've got a shot. It is hard to get back. Ask the Lions. Ask the Niners. You know what I mean? We have stayed relatively healthy this year. Daniels has been on a magical tear. Think about the Texans last year and C.J. Stroud. And I think Jayden Daniels is different than C.J. Stroud. But my point is every team that plays the Commanders next year is going to scheme very hard for Jayden Daniels. It's going to be harder next year, even though I think the team will be improved. So, yeah, we're 1 game away from the Super Bowl. These chances don't come along very often, and so it hasn't hit me yet, but I know come Sunday I'm going to be crazy, crazy nervous, because you start thinking about the reality, holy crap, we're 1 game away from the Super Bowl. Yeah. We're 1 game away.
Yeah, and then if you get to the Super Bowl, I think it's Jayden Daniels in 1 game. You can win the Super Bowl.
1,000%. Anything can happen in 1 game, so I'm super nervous. This will be a really tough test. On the other hand, no one gave us a chance against the Detroit Lions. No one gave us a chance against the Buccaneers. I did. Some people did. But they were
not against the
underdogs.
Lions, but against the
Lions was 9.5 points. That's a very.
Right. 9.5 points for the Lions. I think it closed at 8.5. But they were 3-point underdogs to the Buccaneers.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, we didn't understand, and we.
I actually remember saying that week. I felt like if the Commanders lost that would be an upset if they were to lose to the Bucs, because they had just been playing better football. But nonetheless, you don't just beat Detroit. You go in.
We kicked their butts.
To Detroit and win by double digits. So I don't even – it's like they expect to win. If you hear, you expect to win. I hope that's how you feel too, Matthew. You got to expect it now.
I think we've got I think we have a better chance than Vegas thinks, right? You said the money line is minus 285.
Yeah.
It opened at 4.5. It's up to 5.5 and 6 in some places.
Yeah, so Vegas basically saying 70-30 Eagles.
Right.
Basically. So you got 30% chance.
What's the game watching atmosphere for you with this? A game this high stakes.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Have you thought about this throughout the week? Because I would be thinking about it.
It's a great question, and I'm thinking about it. So, first off, I'll just be point blank honest. I have tried to see if I can get tickets to the game, but only tickets to the game where I can be in a suite with other Commanders fans.
Right.
I'm just be honest. I don't want to.
I don't blame you.
The Philadelphia Eagles fans are very passionate.
Yeah.
I'm either going, it doesn't matter whether I wear Commanders gear or not. I'm fairly recognizable at football stadiums. Like I get recognized a decent amount when I go to a football stadium with an NFL watching audience. And they all know I'm I've been a Commanders fan on TV for over 25 years.
I had the same problem with me and the Giants. Everyone knows I'm a Giants fan in Philly. So
Yes,
they heckle me whenever I go to the link.
1,000%, exactly right. Yeah, exactly. You can't go to an Aces game. Everyone's like, you're a Liberty fan. Yeah, exactly.
That's a more apt comparison.
Yeah, exactly.
Magpies and Liberty.
Exactly. You try to show up to the Connecticut Sun and you get booed out of the stadium.
That's exactly right.
That's exactly right. You love your Liberty.
Good
No, but
call
in all
on wanting to
seriousness,
be with Commanders fans, though.
Because here's what's going to happen. If I go to an Eagles fan, like somebody will be drunk, somebody will be jawing at me, and like I'm a public. I can't.
You don't
want to
go viral.
It's
you
just
don't
there's
go
nothing
viral.
good comes from me being in the stands at the link.
It's literally the one
you
place
saying-
you would choose not to be,
Are you-
right? Literally the one place.
Is Matthew Berry saying he gonna have to throw them hands?
Right,
Is he gonna have to throw them hands on some Eagles
And
fans?
I'll be there with my wife, and some guy's yelling at my wife.
yeah,
You're not stepping up for your wife. What kind of man are you?
You did not win.
None of it.
No good outcome.
None of it's good. So none of it is good. If the Rams had won, we were going to fly to LA. I don't mind being in the stands in LA.
It'd be more y'all than them.
Oh, 1,000%. Pass the sushi.
Yeah. Waiter comes down, taking your order.
Stop it, of course. But so I did not want to be in the. With all due respect, because Eagles fans are very passionate. I didn't want to deal with that. So I've made some inquiries, and they're seeing what the ticket allotment is. Obviously, demand is high, and there aren't going to be very many suites where it's going to be kind of Commanders fans, right? So assuming that doesn't come through, and that's my assumption right now, I'll probably watch it at home. And my wife was like, "Do you want to invite people over?" I'm like, and I go, "No,
God,
no, I do." Like as it is, I can barely. Like I'm short with my wife because I am. This game is of such magnitude. Like I'm gonna be like, I mean, even watching the Lions game, it was just me and my wife watching it, and my kids for a little bit. They sort of came in and out. My daughters, but I'm like, like. When we didn't get the fourth down, the early fourth down with Mariota, like I'm pounding the couch, I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm cursing, like you know what I mean?
Pillows.
Yeah, again, this might be the most important game of my life, and even though I have lived through 3 Super Bowls, but I was a kid, I didn't understand. The third Super Bowl was when I was in college, the one against the Bills, the last one again in college, and I was sort of like. Yeah, but we'd won so much with Gibbs and everything like that. I didn't fully appreciate the moment at the time. I enjoyed it. I watched it. I rooted for it hard, and I was celebrating. But having now gone through 20 plus years of the Snyder era of hell, of being dragged through, being one of the worst franchises in professional sports, not let alone the NFL, like just be able to get back to this, and. Look, I mean, you just sort of look around the league, and there's so many good young teams. You think about the Lions or the Buccaneers or the Eagles or the Cowboys will be back, and you know what I mean. Like there's so many the Giants. Anyway, there's and the Packers, right, and the Vikings. There's so many good young teams, especially in the NFC, that you're just sort of like, and the 49ers will be back.
It's better than being in the AFC. That's for damn sure.
For sure. Yeah. But all I'm saying is like, I don't know when we're going to get, like, I'm excited. We've got a quarterback for the next 15 years. Fantastic.
Yes, sir.
But like, you don't know when you're going to get back an opportunity. So given my age and given what I've been through for the last 25 years, this is the most important game of my life.
You've probably got 10 years left to win a Super Bowl.
Hey, so look,
I think I have a good 25 years left of life.
God,
you asshole. But like, you know what I mean?
dark human.
Guy, can I tell? I just want to tell America this. Jay puts me in the grave at least once a week. It's so dark and awful.
I've seen the amount of diet soda you drink.
I look older than I am. I believe me. I'm in good health. You know what I mean? Like I'm fine. America.
I mean, kudos. Most people think they look younger than what they are. So kudos to you for.
I am old. I've looked old for like 15 years. I have. Like I lost my hair early, and I've looked old for a long time.
Your dad having a head full of hair was really a highlight for me on the show this year.
Listen, I'm just running the simulation and looking forward, baking in as a key variable that your diet is basically chicken nuggets and diet soda. So I'm just projecting forward.
Dry chicken nuggets at that. You don't like no sauce on them things. You don't
That's right.
like no
The
sauce.
sauce is what kills you, Lawrence. The sauce is what kills you.
But if you're going to go out with a bang.
Anyway, you guys are all animals. Connor's my only friend.
Watch the game alone.
But the answer is that I will probably watch the game with just my wife and my adult sons. Is my guess is what will happen, and the girls will wander in and out. But no, I told my wife I don't want to invite people over because I'm going to be intense, and I apologize to her in advance. Like if I'm short with you, like I don't think you understand. So this is the most important. This is literally the most important game of my adult life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or the one that I care the most about, I think.
Yes.
And it hasn't hit me just yet. But I know that Sunday morning I'm going to be crazy nervous.
Well,
crazy nervous.
I'm texting you.
Let's jump right into it. And we got to hear from both Jayden Daniels and Jalen Hurts on playing each other for the third time. Speaking of most important game of your life, same for Jayden Daniels.
I think you put some different wrinkles into your game plan, and I'm pretty sure they will too. But at the end of the day, it's about, execution and fundamentals, and that's a very good team that we're going to face for a third time again. So they got a lot of good players. Obviously, we know them. They know us. So it's going to be a fun matchup going up against them on Sunday.
Really well-coached group. They fly to the ball. They affect the passer. Got great defensive backs. I think they're a great team, obviously, to be playing consistent ball like they have. They're a really good team. Really, really good group on defense for sure.
The Eagles favored by 6 points at home.
Very good group on defense.
Yeah.
Thanks for not watching any tape on Jayden Daniels, Jalen Hurts. We're okay on offense too, by the way. NBD.
I mean, Jayden Daniels ain't going to have to tackle Jalen Hurts, so.
No, sir.
I hope he's not watching film.
It's the greatest vibes mismatch NFC championship game in history. I don't know what's going on with the Eagles still. Eagles carry themselves like a disaster team that went 7-10 and is about to fire everyone. They're minus 285 to be in the Super Bowl.
I have a real question, though. Legit question. Is Nick Sirianni coaching for his job? If they lose a home game that they're favored by over a touchdown to the Commanders to not go to the Super Bowl, do they fire Nick Sirianni? It's a genuine question.
It would be crazy.
It depends how bad things are behind the scenes.
Right, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And also, the coaching pool out there is not good right now.
It's drying
I
up.
don't think they should. I'm asking you if they will. I mean, just again, because the fan base is crazy there. It's a passionate fan base.
You take a step back and look at Nick Sirianni's coaching record. It's insanely good for someone who is thought of, held in not the highest regard. I think because of the way that he's carried on and some of the decisions, or even though, I think his in-game decision making for the most part is fine. It's all the other stuff about yelling at the Chiefs fans and yelling at his own fans in the Browns game. But I mean, the guy took a franchise that had just moved on from Carson Wentz, who they took with the second pick and was the MVP favorite, and then he basically reinvented the team with Jalen Hurts. They made the Super Bowl. They were very close to winning the Super Bowl. They were minus 400 at halftime of the Super Bowl to win that championship, and now they're, again, likely going to be in another Super Bowl. If it wasn't for all the antics, we'd be thinking this guy's going to be here for the next decade. But just because of all the antics, I think it just clouds everything.
It's an interesting dynamic because I think the people that are anti-Nick Sirianni would point to, Howie Roseman has constructed an unbelievable roster between free agency and draft. Roseman has done truly an incredible job. And that if you look at, somewhat of the success, and it's a little bit mixed, but, that Steichen and Gannon have had, and just how much the team fell off when they left. And so they're back a little bit better. But again, Fangio's done a great job. I think people generally are pro Kellen Moore. And so I think the anti-Nick Sirianni people would be like it's just all the coordinators. He's been granted one of, if not the best roster top to bottom in the NFL, and he's been, and he's got two, fantastic coordinators. Yeah. Kellen Moore has had success at a high level, especially with Dallas. Fangio's a legend as a defensive coordinator.
I just think it's so hard, Connor, to evaluate coaches who don't own a specific side of the ball. It's so much easier to evaluate. Kevin O'Connell seems to do a really good job. Or Dan Quinn has gotten a ton out of this Washington defense that we thought was going to be one of the worst defenses in football. Nick Sirianni, I know he's more on the offensive side of the ball, but it was Steichen's offense. It's now Kellen Moore's offense. So I just don't know how to evaluate him outside of the fourth down decision making.
Well, I think what you can say is he gets credit for making those hires, right? Sure. And they've lost a lot of people over the years, and he's replenished. That was something you look at Vrabel when things got bad in Tennessee. He lost Matt LaFleur, then Arthur Smith, and then eventually, the third time around, you just run out of hires. Right. Yeah. Sirianni has made some hires that have really given him a bigger shelf life.
Yeah, and it gets to the point where things start to become less of a coincidence at this point. If they win this game, that's 2 Super Bowls in 3 seasons. For the Chiefs now, it's not a mistake that they're in 7 straight AFC Championship games. It's the same thing we used to say about Tom Brady and the Patriots. If you keep getting to a certain point, the Eagles had a bad season last year, right? But they won 10 games. They got smoked in the playoffs. But if that's a bad year, then look out for the good years, which is now.
Yep. Well, for sure. I'm just asking anyway, and we can move on about let's talk about the actual game. But I'm just curious, what happens. That was my question. Is Nick Sirianni coaching for his job in this one? And the consensus seems to be no. But I suspect that there will be Philly fans calling WIP yelling for Sirianni's head if they lose this game.
I'd back 10-1 that he's not there if they lose the game. I don't think it's favored or anything, but I think it's in the cards just because of all the weirdness behind the scenes. But to his credit, they've reinvented this offense frequently, and now we're in a game where they have a running back whose rushing total set at 128.5, and they run the ball religiously now after being the Eagles have always been on the cutting edge of analytics and fourth down decision making and throwing on early downs and that stuff, and they've reinvented this offense behind the run game, and now Saquon is clearly the identity of the team.
Rightfully so, by the way. I can't remember a prop line of 128. Is that the highest ever?
Has to be,
right up there.
LaDainian Tomlinson, I guess, back in the day. But, I remember Jonathan Taylor in 2021 when he was going on that epic surge. He was getting into the 120s, but that was when they were, playing the, 2-win Texans.
Sure,
right.
Playoffs.
This is an NFC title game, and he said at 128.5.
Right. And by the way, if forced, I might take the over.
Oh, right.
I don't think I'm going to bet on any Eagles overs. Just I don't want that rooting interest at all. But if I had to take a side on that, I think I would. I'm definitely not betting against Saquon Barkley. I'll let you know that. Commanders have not had success against the run all year long, and so Barkley's just been fantastic, including the 2 games against Washington. Right? He's just been nothing short of terrific. As we look at some of the plays here, I guess let's start on the Eagles side of the ball here. We sort of flashed the screen up quickly. We can flash it up again. But here's some of if you're playing DFS on DraftKings, some of the prices here. Saquon's only, I was going to say, he's 8,600, but I think he's worth paying up for. 2 playoff games, almost 60 touches in the 2 games combined, and rightfully so. I told you, I thought the reason the Lions lost the game to the Commanders is that they didn't give the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs 30 times. If they'd just done that and not let Jared Goff throw the ball, they probably would win that game.
Yeah, and with Saquon Barkley, the price being like this and the rushing number being set like that, it's his numbers that high because he consistently breaks long runs every other game. It's not how sometimes they say, well, if you take away that long run, Saquon is that you can't take away the long run because he's liable to do it every single game. He just did it twice in 1 single game, so it's no shock to see his rushing total that high, and obviously the 8,600 would be worth paying out for.
That's a bet I actually like better than the total yards. His longest rush was 20.5. I'm not sure where it's going to land, but he breaks off a 20-plus yard run every single week.
And it could come on carry number 21. You could be holding him for the whole game, and boom, just like that, he out of there.
And that's what Washington did in the first matchup, where they did hold Barkley until the 4th quarter, and then he just went ballistic and ended up winning the Eagles the game. He had a 68-yard touchdown touchdown when they played Washington the second time. He had the 39-yarder the first time, so he has shown that he can get to the second level against this defense.
All right.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what, to me, the biggest matchup here is, can Washington protect Jayden Daniels as well? Sam Cosmi, their right guard, is not going to miss this game. They're going to have to double, maybe even triple Jalen Carter in this as well. So can they keep him upright? Because especially the Eagles' defense is so good, and especially in that first game. But I feel like in both games, but especially the first game, they did such a good job of containing Daniels and just not letting him get outside the pocket and just and by the way, he's a good enough passer that that's fine. Like if they give him enough time, he will pick you apart. But if they're able to get pressure on him without blitzing, it's going to be potentially a long day for my beloved Commanders.
Lawrence,
but I believe in 5. Faith in 5.
Gives you a chance.
Yeah. He's got a shot.
Lawrence, how about a value play down the board here? We've seen Dyami Brown get way more involved in the playoffs. We know how tough the Eagles have been on the back end. They're now maybe a little banged up there, but Brown seems like he's settled in as the number 2.
Yeah, and Matthew, you talked about Jayden Daniels definitely being good enough as a passer. Dyami Brown has emerged as that number 2 receiver especially in the playoffs, at least 5 receptions and 85 yards in both playoff games. So I think if he could be a factor, like you expect what you expect from Daniels, Terry McLaurin, maybe even Zach Ertz get in the end zone there. But if Brown could have another good game, that puts a little bit more stress on the defense when you have to worry about another guy. And at 4,400, if you take a guy like Saquon Barkley at the 8,600, Brown is a guy you want to look at receiver.
They'll take some deep shots to Brown. Mitchell either may not play or may not be 100% if he does go as well. And you figure Brown sees more Mitchell in this one as well. I think they'll probably stick Slay on McLaurin at least a decent amount of the time, would be my expectation.
Another bet I like in this game, Austin Ekeler is set at 23.5 receiving yards. If you remember the first time these teams matched up, Ekeler didn't play. The second game, Ekeler was targeted 9 times and went 8 for 89. 23.5, I think it's very low. I think just that with the pressure that Daniels is going to be seeing, do think he's going to have to check down some. Ekeler looks great. He looks explosive. He's been a big part of the offense past 2 games. Also, they're 6-point dogs, so you'd expect that they may need to be in a throw script. And so, Ekeler's like 13-1 to get 70+ receiving yards, which he did win the previous matchup.
He's beaten that number in each of the 2 playoff games as well. I don't think they'll be able to run up the middle as well. That bet may come up later in the show. By the way,
your biggest thing here, Matthew, for the Commanders is, can they stop the run? They gave up 200 rushing yards. Like you said, they should have given it to Jahmyr Gibbs more. And can they create turnovers from an offense that doesn't turn the ball over?
Yeah, I think they'll stick. There's Marshawn Lattimore and A.J. Brown, and hopefully that goes a little bit better than it did the first time they played. I think they'll put Sanastrell on Devontae Smith, and they're just going to hopefully, we're going to take our chances that Jalen Hurts beats us. We're going to try to stop Saquon. That would be my guess, is what they do some version of that to get a chance. But I think it comes down to turnovers, to your point. Obviously the Eagles last week, a bunch of turnovers against the Rams. Commanders won the turnover battle, obviously big time against the Lions, but also, they got 2 turnovers against the Buccaneers as well. And so that's among the reasons why both teams are in the NFC Championship game. Not going to be great weather. It should be cold. So whoever can hang on to the ball likely has the best chance of winning here. So, I'm super nervous. But I think we got a shot. I think we got a 1-3 shot. I think
the better quarterback.
We have the better quarterback, and I think we have the better coach. I think they're better everywhere else. Maybe not linebacker. With them losing Nakobe Dean, maybe we might be tied at linebacker.
Zach Vaughn's pretty good.
What? But so is Bobby Wagner in a playoff game. So, and Luvu's been great.
Luvu has been really good.
So I think linebacker we might be even. I think they're better everywhere else across the board, certainly on both sides of the line. But I think we got the better quarterback, and I think we got the better coach. That gives us a chance.
Over to the AFC Championship game, where the Bills and Chiefs are meeting for the 3rd time. That's tied for most in AFC Championship game history. We got to hear from both Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen on what is now a playoff rivalry.
You just have to know you're going to have to play your best football. I've played against Josh enough times to know that he's going to come out there and play great football, especially in those big moments. And so for me, I have to play my best football whenever I get the opportunity to, and try to put our team in the best position to succeed. And if that's limiting turnover, if that's changing the field position, whatever that is, you have to find a way that day to win. And when you go up against a great quarterback, it takes your best as well.
Again, they control the ball extremely well. They don't make bad decisions. Obviously, Patrick is one of the greatest to ever play the game. and they're one of the greatest teams to ever be assembled. Going for a three-peat, and that's what everybody wants to be in this league, is to have the sustained success that they've had. But again, they play great situational football. They understand when it's time to go and when it's time to kind of fend off someone. So, again, that's what we're aiming to be.
As it stands right now, the Chiefs favored by 1.5 at home. The over-under is 47.5. That is the over-under for both games, by the way. But, Matthew, we take a look at the DFS board. No surprise to see the high price for somebody like Josh Allen at the top.
Yeah, no surprise as well. But, like, he may have to go hero mode. I mean, I don't love it's weird that Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game is the lowest priced quarterback on the board at $6,000.
Nice
I mean, Jalen Hurts is $6,500. Daniels is $7,000, and of course Josh Allen $7,500. So getting Mahomes, going Superman mode here. They play fairly conservative, and they do control the clock. But I don't know. I don't want to bet against Patrick Mahomes. I like Dalton Kincaid just to go down the board a little bit. Just $3,600. No tight end. No team gave up more receiving yards to opposing tight ends than the Kansas City Chiefs. Dalton Schultz had a nice game against them last week for the Texans as well. So I do think Kincaid who didn't have a big game last week, and I know Dawson Knox gets in there as well, played about half the snaps, but I don't know. I think Kincaid is kind of interesting here against the Chiefs as if you're punting salary for $3,600.
Yep, I like that. I think this is going to be the game where Allen finally puts on the cape a little bit. His completions prop is only set at 20.5. Like, that is pretty low. He had, in the matchup earlier in the season, he had 27 completions. In the playoff game last year, he had 26 completions against a really solid rushing defense in Kansas City as well. I just think Allen is going to have to do more. I understand they've leaned on James Cook to good success in the first two playoff games, but at the same time, this is it, Farrell. You can't lose to the Chiefs again.
You got to have this one.
Yeah, and if you look at sort of Josh Allen's career against Steve Spagnuolo, statistically he's had a bunch of good games. They've lost some heartbreakers obviously in the playoffs, but it's never been like, wow, Josh Allen had a bad game.
Allen was magnificent in the playoffs last year in that matchup. He did everything humanly possible to win that. He got screwed by Diggs, dropped like a 60-yarder. Sherfield had 2 drops as well. They really should have won that game.
Yes.
And Allen was against the better Chiefs defense last year.
Right, and you think about I think it was the Gabe Davis game where he had 4 touchdowns, but somehow the Chiefs scored within 13 seconds. That should have won that game, right? And Allen was magnificent once again in that game. So I agree with you. I do think this is a Superman game. He's had 3 career playoff games against Kansas City, and he's averaging over 31 fantasy points per game against Spagnuolo. He's had at least 26 fantasy points in every single game. So I agree with you. I do think if you're going to pay up at the quarterback position, Josh Allen is probably worth it at $7,500. And I do think because of his price, maybe people will shy away from him somewhat.
Lawrence, what about his number 1 wide receiver, Khalil Shakir? I mean, they got Amari Cooper, and everybody thought he would be the guy getting all the targets, but Shakir's been so much better this year.
Yeah, Amari Cooper out there getting that cold cardio. Khalil Shakir, on the other hand, 12 straight games with at least 6 targets. Chiefs not as good versus the slot here. So when and if Josh out, even last game, he was looking for Khalil Shakir in the short area to have him make plays. That's what that's what's valuable in fantasy is a guy like Shakir. So he's definitely worth a value there.
When you think about the Bills, who've sort of played this wide receiver by committee, where it's Keon Coleman, it's Amari Cooper, it's
Curtis Samuel.
It's Curtis Samuel, it's Mac Hollins. You know what I mean? All these guys sort of getting looks. But the one consistent throughout the year has been Shakir. He's always gotten, to your point, he's gotten 5 or 6, 7 targets a game. And that's the one guy that you feel best about in this passing offense. So if we're sitting here saying, hey, Josh Allen's putting on the Superman cape and he's going to have to do it all against the Chiefs, Shakir would be somebody that would benefit a lot.
Do you have a theory, Connor, on what's happened to Amari Cooper? Because he's shown, they traded for him, and the idea was that he was going to be the number 1 wide receiver. He had that game against the Rams where he had 90 receiving yards and 14 targets. But he set at 16.5 receiving yards. It's 2 yards higher than Mac Hollins.
He's not involved. I don't know if they haven't been able to form consistent chemistry, if they're not making him a part of the offense.
Maybe he's not 100%.
Maybe he's not healthy.
16.
Right? Maybe he's not healthy.
He's a guy that's been banged up throughout his career, and so maybe they're just,
Other side of 30 now as well. Like maybe it's just.
Well, it's cold. He don't do
Thanks
the
for
cold
looking
games.
right at
He don't
me.
do them
You said
cold
I'm
games.
other
You're
side
the
of
oldest
30.
man at the table.
Yeah.
You're right, Lawrence. He's
You're the closest one to
notoriously.
Yeah.
He's notoriously a
Because
poor
remember when he was with
weather
Dallas,
performer.
Yes.
and he would go to Philly, it'd be like cold Amari Cooper day,
Yeah,
and
you just fade him. Every
zeros. Yeah. I actually would say this. You guys said a Superman Josh Allen game. I think they should keep on leaning with that run game. I think if you could, I think they could be effective running against the Chiefs, certainly more than they were against the Ravens. They've stuck with it not only just the past two playoff games, but down the stretch. Cook had 2 100-yard games down the stretch of the regular season, and you just kind of want to neutralize that pass rush that sacked C.J. Stroud 8 times last game. So I think the Bills just gotta win the game, whatever it takes. Josh Allen, we're gonna give him the same praise if they just win the game. It don't matter what his stats. Stats wasn't good versus the Ravens, but he didn't turn the ball over.
Just just try to force Patrick Mahomes out of bounds, but don't touch him. Don't tackle him. Don't breathe in on him because it'd be awful. What's James Cook's rushing? I think it's 13.5 rush attempts, which I think is really low. To your point,
that is low.
Lawrence. I mean, against the Chiefs have a good run defense, but it's not as good as the Ravens. And he clearly they've leaned on Cook in the last 2 playoff games. They're gonna do it again on the road at Arrowhead. I think they lean on Cook again. So I like the over on his rushing attempts prop, which the last I looked,
13.5.
it's 13.5.
Back over. It's 57.5 rushing yards, 75.5 scrimmage yards. So expecting a more kind of traditional James
Maybe
Cook
a little,
type of game.
maybe a little more Ray Davis in there.
I don't know. I'd take the over.
I would take the over too. Though. He's had
attempts.
23 and then 17 carries.
Yeah.
So it'd be weird to go way away from that.
Especially on the road at Arrowhead. The last thing they want to do is they're not going to want to play up tempo. They may have to if they get down, but
keep the ball
they're
away
going to
from
start
Mahomes.
right.
Yeah. I don't know. I can say I need the Bills in this game personally for a preseason Super Bowl ticket on the Bills. I feel like I'm going to get very upset at the first down James Cook runs for 3 yards. Just put the cape on, Josh. It's time. It's time. Bring me home, Josh.
I am. Listen, Bills Commanders Super Bowl is what America wants.
Yes.
That's what
Pretty good
America.
Super Bowl.
That is what America wants. It'll be a repeat of
Australia wants it badly.
Everyone
It'd be the
wants it.
second best Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Behind Chiefs Eagles.
Gosh, no one wants to see Chiefs.
I was saying, how come nobody want to see that?
I'm Monday when I was here. I was the only one fighting for it.
Okay,
No one
I'm with you, dog.
No one wants to see everyone's bored of the Chiefs, rightly or wrongly.
I'm not bored of the Chiefs.
I love watching the Chiefs.
Rightly or wrongly, the over/under to Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl is gonna be like 42.5. That's gonna be like a grinded-out, ugly game. That's not gonna be fun. People you're gonna be watching that game and every 30 seconds, there's Taylor Swift, there's Donna Kelsey. Oh, there's Taylor Swift again. Look, there's Taylor Swift next to Donna Kelsey.
Yeah, I'm done with
it's
that.
gonna be. No one wants to see the Eagles Chiefs, as great as those two teams are. America,
You definitely don't want to see
don't
it.
want to.
No one wants to see it.
I don't want to.
Connor
but
just doesn't
I'm
like Damar Hamlin.
Bills Super Bowl preseason ticket, lifelong Commanders
you
fan.
see it.
Nobody wants to see Chiefs Eagles.
Tell me I'm wrong about that.
I just want to see some good ball play, and we would get that
Josh
with the
Allen
Commanders and the Bills.
You're telling me Josh Allen versus Jayden Daniels isn't a fun match?
It would be fun as hell.
It's
It would
number
be
2.
fun. I think any combo of these teams would be fun. Right. I would be just as happy, but I'm not hating on the Chiefs or Eagles or nothing.
I'm kind of sick of the Chiefs.
The Chiefs have been 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls. Is it something like that, right?
They lost 1, so yeah, 3
checks
of the
out.
They've won 2 straight, but I think they've been in 5 of the last 6. I think
That's how you know they've been in a lot. We can't even remember.
Right, you kind of
the only
assume
one I
at
can
this
think of
point.
that they haven't been in was Bengals Rams.
Yeah, they
Right?
lost to the Bucs, and then they've won the
Right, and they were in with they were against the San Francisco 49ers in the
Beat
Miami
Niners,
Super Bowl.
beat
beat the
Eagles.
beat the Niners twice. Yeah.
4 of the last 5.
4 of the last 5.
Four of the last
See?
5. Give me
Winning
something
5 out of
different.
6.
Their brilliance is amazing. They're awesome. You know what I mean? And by the way, if the Eagles beat the Commanders, I will root for whoever from the AFC.
we can't have
Give me Chiefs
Eagles.
over Eagles for a 3-peat. Yeah, absolutely. 1,000%. Come on.
All right, let's get into the Rotoworld player news.
There's no doubt Caleb played a large component into my decision. He is a phenomenal talent. that had, as many quarterbacks do, an up and down rookie year. Where I see my role is as a supporter of him. This offense will be calibrated with him in mind. We're going to build this thing. This is not simply a dropping of a previous playbook down on the table and starting there. Nope. We're ripping this thing down to the studs, and we're going to build it up with him first and foremost, and then with the pieces around him next.
What he's been able to do over there with Detroit in that offense, you don't see an offense doing things that they were doing without somebody like Ben at the helm of it, just because there's so much time and so much effort and so much energy and passion that goes into it.
What a duo in Chicago. Ben Johnson kind of got an evil villain vibe. Caleb Williams dressing like the Matrix.
It's a lot going on.
He like a detective or something.
But I will say, I think that quote, the sound that we just played from Ben Johnson at his press conference, I think is really important, because there was some debate prior to him being hired about whether he would be a good fit. I know Dan Orlovsky was fairly vocal about the fact that he wasn't sure this would be a fit, and other people as well, that because what he's been calling in Detroit doesn't necessarily fit what Caleb does. But so the fact that Ben Johnson addresses it moment one, this is not me plopping in my Detroit Lions playbook. In essence, he says it's like, I'm going to build an entirely new playbook around what Caleb Williams does well. With him in mind, we are building a playbook for Caleb Williams and his skill set, and then we're going to take, the DJ Moores and the Rome Odunzes of the world and put them into it. But I thought that was really smart of Ben to address, and I sort of believe that. I think a good coach, just generally speaking in the NFL, I think a good coach basically coaches to what their player's skill set is, right? I mean, that's what they've done in Washington. Cliff Kingsbury adjusted his offense and put a lot more of the stuff that Jayden liked in college into their offense here in the pros. And so I think good coaches adjust their offense to the skills of the players that they have. And I think Ben Johnson's a good coach. So if I was a Bears fan, I would be optimistic today.
It's always going to be a mixture of a little bit of both of that. You definitely got to cater to what your guy does. I expect Caleb Williams, whatever offense he runs, I definitely expect him to be getting the ball out a little quicker, because there was a lot of times this year where he maybe had played a little more hero ball than he had to. I think he'll get to, more of the quick hitter type stuff, but still yet being able to use his talent of being able to scramble in the pocket.
Yeah, to me the big thing with Ben Johnson is, like, if you don't think that he can change his, like, do you think that the only guy who can run Ben Johnson's offense in any form is Jared Goff? Like, it's not like he's coaching with Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, which I think would be more red flags. Like, Jared Goff was named an MVP finalist today. He's probably going to finish 5th in MVP. 2 years ago, Jared Goff looked like he was on the path to being like a backup in the league.
A couple of years ago, the Rams gave up a #1 pick to get Jared Goff off their team. Right. They sent a #1 pick to the Lions to say, please take Jared Goff. Here's a #1 pick if you'll just take Jared Goff from us. So that's where his career was, to your point, and it's been resurrected. And credit to Goff, credit to Johnson, credit to the Lions front office for putting for getting Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 4th round, for putting that offensive line together. Like a lot of pieces go into that. And Goff has been richly rewarded, and deservedly so. But yes, it's not like he was gifted Patrick Mahomes or something like that, to your point.
Exactly. So are we saying that we're all in on Caleb Williams MVP tickets next year?
No, I wouldn't go
I don't think we're
Are we on that? Are we on that?
Kind of outplayed by Bo Nix this year. So
hey,
I mean, he's the type of guy who has upside to come out of nowhere. But.
You see that number 5 back there, right? That's the ticket you should.
Of course, but Caleb Williams is going to be the value.
Yeah.
Jayden Daniels is going to be top 3 or 4 guys up there.
I will say that Caleb Williams, I think he'll be a sleeper fantasy-wise, like a sleeper fantasy quarterback. Not only when you want to go to the season with as your #1, but if you're in a 2-quarterback league or a deeper league, he's certainly an interesting guy.
You know the value is going to be, Lawrence? It's going to be Lamar Jackson again, because everyone's just like, oh, they're not going to give it to him again. Oh, well, what if he has the best numbers?
But this is the thing, though. If he had these numbers again next year, he ain't going to get it.
I don't know, man.
He'd have to throw for like 4,900, run for 1,500.
The best guy usually just wins.
It'll be interesting to see if Keenan Allen comes back to this team. I think that's and what they do at the running back position as well with Swift. But it feels like, but either way, I think if you are a dynasty manager that has Caleb, that has DJ Moore, that has Rome Odunze, today is a good day for you. If you're a Bears fan as well,
you feel better.
Whatever you think about that offense, it's going to be a lot better under Ben Johnson.
Yeah, he wasn't as bad as Bryce Young was as a rookie, but you're hoping it has the Canales effect of where you see significant growth pitching that kind of play caller to him.
He also, I mean, like, it wasn't as bad as Bryce Young, but it was the same effect, which is that, like, C.J. Stroud was so good last year that it paled, it sort of made Bryce Young's struggles look more amplified. And the fact that Caleb Williams went number 1 overall and struggled somewhat, while Jayden Daniels is awesome. Bo Nix leads his team to the playoffs as well. Penix was, Penix looked good down the stretch.
Drake May looks good. Drake May looks good.
Drake May, with nothing around him, looks good. And we'll get to him in a second here. And I think people are excited about J.J. McCarthy, given what we saw Sam Darnold do in the Vikings offense. So I think that amplified Williams' struggles because of all the other success that the rookie quarterbacks had.
Yeah. In some other coaching news, guys, the Jets have made their hire official, bringing in Aaron Glenn. Played 8 years with the Jets, Pro Bowls under Bill Parcells.
Yeah.
We got to see who the play caller is going to be.
Yeah, Lawrence and I broke this down in a significant way on Worstlands.
I haven't listened yet, but I plan to on the way home.
Make sure y'all go check that out.
Check it out, Worstlands, the best Jets podcast out there. But I'm curious your thoughts, Connor, on this hire. This was sort of expected. He was the leading candidate.
Well, it's nice that one of the better candidates wanted to come to the Jets. Obviously, the history there is what helped. I like Aaron Glenn a lot, and I don't really worry about the Jets' defense. It's just who is he going to hire as the offensive coordinator, and the variable who's going to be the quarterback of this team.
Yep.
That's
I like how you always throw to Connor on Jets questions. You never throw to me on Giants questions. I'm very plugged in.
Especially with that bet Jay had in there.
Exactly.
You're plugged in and very poor when it comes to the Giants. Connor, and by the way, if you host the second best Giants podcast out there, I will absolutely come to you on Giants. Yeah, exactly. Or you can join us on Worstlands. Or even Worstlands. All right, Connor Rogers, co-host of Badlands, the second best Jets podcast in all of America. Who do you think the quarterback and offense coordinator is? What are the rumors are there? Do you think Aaron Glenn wants Aaron Rodgers back? Was that part of the interview process, you think?
Definitely was part of the interview process. The thing that people aren't weighing here is I don't know if Aaron wants to play anymore. Everybody's thinking, like, do you want to bring him back? Aaron might just be done. But I think Aaron Glenn's the type of guy that wants to come in and kind of kickstart things right away, not take a year where it's like, we're just kind of figuring it out. So there'll be a pitch, I think, to Aaron Rodgers, but I think a lot of that will be on his plate. And they got to figure out things financially, too.
For sure.
If he plays another year, their cap gets really messy the 2 years following that. There's a lot of hurdles here before that happens again.
By all accounts, Aaron Glenn is not only a great coach, but like just an awesome person, like a great motivator of young men. And so I think Jets fans should be happy today.
Yeah, it's always cool when a player that was really great for your franchise for almost a decade comes back and is the coach. So I think the Jets did well here, but like I said, his offensive staff will be a key point.
It's looking up.
All right, speaking of more offensive staff news, the Patriots made a hire for offensive coordinator, old face back in the fold. Josh McDaniels, for the third time, is the Patriots offensive coordinator now, under Mike Vrabel this time.
Yeah, listen, and I think this is a good hire. I mean, look, the Patriots were top 8 in scoring offense in 12 of McDaniels' 13 seasons as OC. Now, Tom Brady isn't his quarterback.
Just to add a little bit.
Okay, Tom Brady isn't there, obviously. But my point is that I think the questions about McDaniels has never been his offensive play calling. Like he hasn't worked out as a head coach because of maybe some organizational stuff. But there's long been a tradition of people that person is just a really good offensive coordinator, but maybe isn't head coach. A really good coordinator, one way or the other, but maybe isn't head coach material. Norv Turner is, to me, like the epitome of that. Norv Turner is as good an offensive mind as there has been in the history of football. Just wasn't meant to be a head coach. But and so maybe that's what McDaniels is, because I don't think anyone's ever had a question about his play calling here. And certainly given that you have, Vrabel's a defensive-minded guy, he's just going to let Josh have the offense. I thought this was a good hire by the Patriots.
Yeah, it's familiarity, and like you said about the whole head coaching thing, the organizational stuff, the whole thing with the Colts, and then going back to the Patriots. That might have been his second time as the coordinator, taking Tim Tebow. So all of that stuff was as a head coach, but as a coordinator, like you say, he been close to lights out.
He seemed to lose the locker room in Las Vegas, but they moved the ball. I mean, he had like Aiden O'Connell.
Right, never really had a ton.
He's never had. I mean, I would argue that if you look at you mentioned Tebow and everything like that, and you mentioned some of the. I think did he have Brock Osweiler in Denver as well at some point? I don't know exactly where all those.
Who was it? Right after.
I think that
Orton,
was
right
that.
after.
That was.
Huh? Oh yeah, Kyle
He
Orton.
starts 6-0 with Kyle Orton.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah.
I don't think they won again.
I would make the argument that after Brady, Drake May's the best quarterback that Josh McDaniels has ever
right,
had,
definitely.
and I don't think it's close. So I think this is a good hire. They have some young pieces on offense, especially at I think seeing what Kayshon Boutte does next year, I think is pretty interesting as well. I will say that just knowing what Josh McDaniels was as an offense coordinator the previous years in New England. Good luck trying to figure out whether it's Ramondre Stevenson or Antonio Gibson.
I think they might add something to
and they
that
might,
running
yeah,
back
exactly.
room.
Exactly. It's going to be a committee again.
In some good Bucs news and fantasy news, the Bucs signed offensive coordinator Liam Coen to a big-time contract extension. He'd been interviewing for the Jaguars job. He ends up saying no thanks to that. And then the fallout effect is the Jaguars fire Trent Baalke after they've done a ton of coaching interviews. None of them clearly wanted to work with Baalke. If you're a Jaguars fan today, you drink for free because this has not been a fun roller coaster to be on.
I don't know what we clapping for, but we clapping for you.
We're for Jaguars fans because they finally have some hope. And you don't want to sit here and that's unbelievable decorations on the board. Fantastic. What I was just gonna say is like that. I went on X/Twitter yesterday, and at one point yesterday, Trent Baalke was the #1 trending topic. Regardless of where you are politically, there's a lot going on politically on both sides. That generally that's been trending topics.
Yeah.
That's been a trending topic, right? With the inauguration and there's confirmations and everything like that. And so to see like a general manager of one of the worst teams in the NFL as the #1 trending topic, I'm like, what did he do? And apparently what he did is he kept his job. Yeah, I mean, that's how angry Jaguars fans have been at him. And, like, he hasn't had a winning record. And so I think it was time to move on. It was weird. It's clear that other coaches were like, oh, Trent's still here? No, thank you.
Yeah.
And they lost out on Liam Coen, who was the #1 candidate. So we'll see what Jacksonville does. But I think it's ultimately good for the Jaguars fans, for Trevor Lawrence, and especially if you're a dynasty manager of Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan, Bucky Irving. We'll see if Chris Godwin's back, but certainly good news for Tampa Bay's offense next year as Liam Coen returns to the Buccaneers.
Taking our first break. When we're back, we're looking ahead to Super Bowl MVPs, our best picks coming right up. I'm going to get one step further ahead. I'll take Saquon Barkley, Super Bowl MVP at plus 550. I think the Eagles are going to make the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, Matthew. And listen,
You think they're going to win?
I think they're going to win, and I don't think it'll be because of Jalen Hurts. I think it'll be because of Saquon Barkley.
Okay, well, Matthew, I'm taking Eagles -5.5 against the Commanders. I think the Eagles defense defines this game.
Screw both you guys.
Yeah, no.
Screw both you guys.
What's on Tap is brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Sundays are easy to enjoy when they are full of football and the fridge is filled with beer, especially if you snag an MVP trophy to go along with your Lombardi. As we show the board here now, guys. Saquon Barkley Monday, plus 550. Now plus 500. Jay, what are you looking at on this board?
I still like Saquon at 5-1. I think that he should be more favored than Hurts, who's the exact same price. But my bet, if I'm going a little bit further down the board, James Cook is 60-1, and I think that if you're going with someone on the Commanders, Chiefs, or Bills, you want someone whose statistical production is divorced from the superstar quarterback. So James Cook can have a massive game, and it's not dependent on Allen also putting up stats. So Cook at 60-1 would be my long shot.
I love that one. I'm actually going to go. I'm picking the Eagles to win the Super Bowl too, but I'm going to take the best player on defense. Jalen Carter, game record, chin checker, 2 sacks last game. If it's not a big offensive game, I expect Carter to get in there.
I don't mind Jalen Carter if the Eagles were to win the Super Bowl. I just don't think they will. I'm going with Josh Allen at plus 280. Look, the Bills to win the Super Bowl is plus 260. If you think the Bills win the Super Bowl, there's no way they win the Super Bowl without Josh Allen. It's unlikely, I should say, highly unlikely that they win the Super Bowl without Josh Allen having a big game. I think even in games in which the quarterback isn't the best one. I mean, whatever. Damian Williams should have been the MVP, and they gave it to Mahomes anyway, right? So anyway, Josh Allen at plus 280 is better than the Bills to win the Super Bowl at plus 260. By the way, if you are betting the Commanders to win the Super Bowl, they're plus 800. Jayden Daniels is plus 700. It doesn't make sense. You're better off just betting Commanders to win the Super Bowl because there's no way the Commanders win the Super Bowl and Jayden Daniels isn't the MVP. You got better odds on just the Commanders to win the Super Bowl. But my official Super Bowl MVP vote is Josh Allen at plus 280.
That'll do it for What's on Tap, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. We are taking one last break here. We got last call coming up. Our favorite player props for Championship Sunday coming right up. DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet touchdowns, and new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the app and use promo code Barry when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook.
The crown is yours.
It's time for last call. Here are the most bet conference championship props. Whole lot of Saquon Barkley.
Yep, no surprise.
A little bit of Jayden Daniels with the rushing 40+. Dallas Goedert receiving yards 25+. That's minus 265.
Yeah, I do think Goddard has a nice game.
Yeah. What do you like?
Well, so
spoiler alert.
Before just to take you behind the scenes here a little bit at the happy hour. Before the show, we're all sitting here. And I say to producer Damien, I said, for my best bet today, I'm going to take Austin Ekeler over 23.5 receiving yards. I said, he's beaten this number in both of his playoff games here. He went 8 for 89 against the Eagles earlier in the year. You think about, no Cosme on the offensive line. They're going to be rushing them. I don't think they'll be able to run very well. So I think their run game is just going to be dump-offs to Ekeler, who looked so good against Detroit last week. Okay, fine.
Well researched.
Right, well researched, right?
Yeah.
So then, out of the blue, while we're talking Commanders-Eagles, this guy, Jay Croucher, a thief, just literally tells you everything I just told you. And so, anyway, I agree with Jay, apparently.
I genuinely, right-hand guy, I wasn't listening. And I rarely listen to you, Matthew. And I definitely wasn't listening in that moment. But, no, I love my bet there. And I'm glad that you'll piggyback on it. My best bet for this weekend, I like this one a lot, actually. Patrick Mahomes under 25.5 rushing yards. He has one game this year where he didn't have a rushing attempt. That was against the Bills. Right. His previous 2 games, he only had 19 and 8 rushing yards against the Bills. It's because Sean McDermott uses a spy on Patrick Mahomes, 6th on 3rd down. So I think he goes under 25.5 rushing.
I also don't think he throws a pick, by the way. I don't think he throws an interception.
115.
Yeah.
I don't either. I'm going to go with Jayden Daniels, 35+ pass attempts at plus 145. The Eagles' last 2 opponents have thrown 44 and 33. Jayden Daniels' last 2 games, 31, 35. He's going to have to throw this game. And look, his highest number of the season, 39. Versus who? The Eagles, only just in week 16. So I like that bet there.
I'll follow the trail with a plus money bet here. I'll take Noah Gray over 14.5 receiving yards and over 1.5 receptions. That is plus 106. The Ravens ran a ton of 12 personnel against the Bills last week. I think the Chiefs are going to do the same. And if you're selling out against one of those tight ends, it's Travis Kelce. You cannot let Travis Kelce beat you over and over again. Noah Gray, can you fall into 2 catches for 15 yards? I think you can.
Especially when you think about Likely and Andrews' big games could have been even bigger against the Bills last week as well. Real quickly, while we were on air, Clarence Hill Jr., who has covered the Cowboys forever, put this tweet out. Look for the Cowboys to cross the finish line in hiring Brian Schottenheimer no later than Friday, possibly today. He's been the OC in Dallas for the last 2 years. More of the same with Dak and CeeDee Lamb. It's a weird hire. We'll get more into it on Monday's show. But, okay.
Cowboys going to Cowboy.
Cowboys going to Cowboy.
Lead them boys.
All right, listen, that music means you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. For Lawrence, Jay, and Connor, I'm Matthew Berry. Hail to the Commanders. Hail victory. Beat the Eagles. Peace out. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Rotoworld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.